If you're a fan of wine, but the idea of a wine club feels a little intimidating because it seems like you have to know a lot about wines in order to justify the very expensive cost that's usually associated with them. Wine Insiders is a subscription wine club that's really geared more toward normal people. Those of us who know a good bottle of wine when we taste it, but we don't necessarily know a lot about wines as far as how to detect the smallest notes, how to be able to tell how much sunshine a grape crop got back in 2015. I don't know that much about wine beyond what I know tastes good and what doesn't. And I'm sure a lot of us feel the same way. With Wine Insiders, you get to enjoy bottles of wine that get delivered to your door, whether you order them individually or you have a bulk delivery that comes once every 12 weeks. And you can get 12 bottles of wine delivered once every 12 weeks. So basically a bottle of wine a week. And you get to choose from all reds, all whites, or a mix if you like a little bit of both. Now, I was curious about Wine Insiders Club, so I'll fill you in on everything there is to know about how it works, what the experience is like, what the wines are like, the logistics of the delivery, as well as the pros and cons, and comparing it to other wine clubs. Like I said, Wine Insiders really is more for the average Joe wine drinker, or average Jill in my case. So you can enjoy and experience a wide variety of wines, some of which are exclusive to Wine Insiders. Some of these are wines that you're not going to find in any store locally, but it gives you the opportunity to try a lot of different wines, see what you like, see what you don't, and it's all relatively inexpensive. With Wine Insiders, you don't necessarily have to join the club. If you want to just buy single bottles of wine to try, you can. The club is totally optional. And you can shop by category as far as award-winning wines, new arrivals, customer favorites, and you can also shop by location. So you can explore wines from France or Italy or Spain or even Bordeaux. They carry hundreds of wines, and there are far more than I could possibly name. But the great thing about it is that you can shop for wine, buy it, and have it delivered to your doorstep. So for those of us that are really, really busy and that often get home from the store to realize we forgot to get a bottle of wine, Wine Insiders makes it easy to just access that and have it delivered straight to your door. And although you can buy individual bottles, you can also buy sets. So these are curated sets of wines, whether they're customer favorites, rich, bold reds, fresco whites, whatever, types of wine that you enjoy the most. They have sets available in either 6 or 12 packs. And the prices range, depending on the type, anywhere from about $14 a bottle to $16, $17 a bottle. Really depends on the set and the wine types. There are a lot of options even without joining the Wine Insiders Club, whether you want to just buy single bottles or sets of reds, whites, or anything else that looks good from their list of sets. The Wine Insiders Club allows you to explore a variety of expertly selected wines. Now, when you first start out, it's just $89 and you get to enjoy 15 bottles of wine with that first delivery. You get an introductory 12-bottle case, and you can choose reds, whites, or a mix of both, but then you also get 3 bonus bottles of Italian red wine with your first shipment, and that's totally free. But then every 12 weeks, you'll also receive another curated 12-bottle selection of premium wines delivered straight to your door. And what makes this especially great is that if you know you like reds or you like whites or you just like a little bit of everything, those wine deliveries are catered to your preferences. So you'll get a variety of wines to try that are in the vein of what you know you already like. Now, I can't say that every single bottle you receive is going to be a winner, just because individual tastes vary, and some wines are going to knock your socks off, others you might not be a huge fan of. That said, when you're somebody who really enjoys experimenting and just exploring wines, but you don't necessarily want to spend a ton to do that, the Wine Insiders Wine Club is an opportunity to just try out a wide variety of wines to see what you enjoy and what you don't. And two, if you go to dinner parties, you hang out with a lot of people, they make really nice, easy last-minute gifts. If you're going to a dinner party or somebody's birthday party and you want to bring something and you forgot, you can grab a bottle of wine, take that with you to the dinner party, and it's a way of staying stocked, especially if you drink a lot of wine on a fairly regular basis. Plus, when you join the club, you also get a chrome corkscrew if you don't already have a corkscrew, because a lot of the wines come with a cork. They're not a simple twist lid. Now, you might be a little concerned about the idea of having wines shipped, because of course they're going through transit, a lot can happen, and I want to put your mind at ease as far as what to expect from the shipping, but also like the package and the delivery. So the wines themselves are neatly packed, they're clearly labeled, but they're packed with recessed handles, thick cardboard inserts, so they're packaged in a way that really protects them throughout transit to delivery. And even on a warm summer day, when you open the box, the wines will be cool to the touch. So especially if you live somewhere where it gets really, really warm, you don't need to be so concerned about that. They are gonna arrive at a pretty cool temperature. Now, the shipping on individual bottles of wine or under 6 bottles is $14.95. But if you're having 6 or more bottles delivered, that shipping is free. The one thing that I want to point out as far as the shipping is that there are a handful of states where Wine Insiders cannot ship to. And just so you know that ahead of time, these include Alaska, Arkansas, Delaware, Hawaii, Mississippi, Rhode Island, South Dakota, and Utah. So if you live in any of those states, just be aware that Wine Insiders cannot ship to those. And I've noticed as well, there are certain wines that can't ship to individual states. Now, I'm not sure why. I don't understand the logistics, if it's like a limitation on the type of wine or what it is, but I noticed while I was shopping around for just individual bottles of wine, there are some that I can order and have shipped no problem, but there are others that show like a little warning, cannot ship to your state. So that's another thing to just kind of keep an eye out for, like when you're shopping yourself, depending on where you're at, if you see those, just pay attention, because not every wine is going to be available to go to every state. Now, the Wine Insiders Club, I really like the way that it's set up, because you can choose from red, white, or mixed, and every 12 weeks, you're going to get a delivery of wine on your doorstep that lets you experience a lot of different wines that you might not have otherwise. And I personally am a big fan of the reds, so that's generally, anytime I buy wine, almost always, unless I'm getting mead or something, it's always a red and dry. I'm not a super big fan of sweet wines. I can tolerate them in small amounts, but it's not really my favorite. Being Italian, I grew up with dry red wines. Like, that's what we always had at my family's house, my grandparents' house. When my family used to make wine, they made dry red wine. Although when they had bad batches, they made red wine vinegar. But that's neither here nor there. It happens sometimes. But I love that Wine Insiders gives you access to trying so many different wines for a relatively inexpensive price considering what you get. Now, your first shipment Like I mentioned, it's $89 and you get 15 bottles of wine. You get the 12 that's either all red, white, or mixed, but then you also get 3 bonus bottles of an Italian red that's curated by Wine Insiders. And the great thing about this membership is you can cancel it anytime. So if after a while you decide that it's not for you, or you're just not drinking enough wine and it's suddenly, getting stockpiled and you're drowning in bottles of wine, you can cancel that membership anytime you want to. And then after your first month's discount and the bonus wines, the quarterly shipments of 12 bottles are $155. So that's about $13 a bottle, which is more than reasonable, especially for curated award-winning selections that are coming from regions like France, Italy, Spain, Chile, and even South Africa. Plus, you also get 5% back in store credit for every club order. So over time, that accumulates and you can use that toward future shipments or even one-off bottle purchases. So if there are wines that you get as part of your club shipment and you think, damn, I really like that, I want more of it, that 5% back, you can use that toward buying single individual bottles of the ones that you love the most. And that's pretty cool. But the delivery, especially the packaging and the delivery, there was not a single crack or a leak. And even if you live in an area with extreme weather, I haven't had any issues as far as, wines being damaged by extreme temperatures. The packaging makes sure that the bottles stay upright, they're cool, everything is clean, and it's just packaged really, really well for delivery purposes. Now, Wine Insiders does have what they call a perfect pour promise, and they'll offer a full refund or a replacement if you're not completely satisfied. If you do have an issue with any of the wines that you just didn't love, you can contact their customer support team and they'll issue a credit within a few days. The other great thing about the wine club from Wine Insiders, there's a little bit of a white glove service in that they'll send you personalized tasting notes and sometimes even surprise gifts in with your shipments. But the tasting notes are really handy, especially if you're sharing your wine with other people and you want to sound like you know what you're talking about. You can hold up your glass of wine and be like, oh yes, I can smell the summerberry, or whatever. Like, I don't know. Clearly I don't know a lot about what goes into wine outside of grapes, but those personalized tasting notes can give you a lot of just insider information that you can either keep for yourself or share with others to impress your friends. So if you're thinking about joining Wine Insiders Wine Club and you're not sure if it's right for you, there's a few things to consider because this is not really like a sommelier's wine club, but it isn't trying to be either. This is not something that's meant for wine collectors who track vintages and cellaring temperatures, or anybody that's really expecting ultra premium wines at grocery store prices. That really isn't how Wine Insiders is set up. It's really best for beginners who want to learn what they like without spending a ton of money. It's great for casual wine drinkers who just want to enjoy something that's solid and affordable. Wines that are from notable regions that, it just sort of expands your wine experience around the globe. It's also great for busy people who would just rather get curated bottles instead of spending time browsing aisles at the store. And mostly it's great for people that just want to enjoy new varieties of wines without having to put a ton of thought into it. Plus, anybody that's going to dinner parties or that has a lot of social engagements and often just needs to grab a little something, to bring with them, a bottle of wine is a great addition to any dinner party, get together, any little thing that somebody's hosting. Before you leave the house, you can just grab a bottle, bring it with you, and you've got a gift without even really having to put a lot of time or thought into it, especially if the people that you hang out with also enjoy wine. Now, when comparing wine insiders to other wine clubs that are more on the level of wine insiders, so things like Firstleaf, Winc, or even Wall Street Journal Wine Club, there are some differences. So wine insiders cares less about personalization. So they're more about delivering a lot of value and variety, especially at a lower price point. So when you first join up, really you're just selecting from red, white, or a mix. There aren't really any quizzes or questionnaires about taste profiles, like especially if you don't really know what kinds of taste profiles you enjoy, those are really hard questions to answer. So Wine Insiders Club streamlines that. They keep it a lot more basic and again, accessible. Now, there's less in terms of luxury branding, but again, this is more about volume, value, and variety. So it's sort of like, if I had to describe it, it's sort of like the Netflix of wine clubs. Not every single show is going to be a favorite, but there's always something worth tasting. Like anything else that's out there, Wine Insiders has its share of pros and cons to consider, especially if you're thinking about joining the club. So the pros, the intro offer is super affordable. You get 3 bonus bottles with your normal 12 for just $89. And that's a hell of a good deal. The shipping is 2 to 3 days nationwide. They have a satisfaction guarantee and they offer a really broad variety of wines to try from 15 different wine regions that are well known in the world for delivering great bottles of wine. And after your initial order, you get a second order and any other wine club orders, you enjoy 12 bottles per quarter. So basically a bottle of wine per week. Now, the only real downsides to Wine Insiders Wine Club, the quality can vary between bottles. Like I mentioned earlier, you're probably not gonna love every single bottle in every single shipment because individual tastes vary. And there is some limited shipping Wine Insiders Club can't deliver to certain states. And beyond that, even individual bottles may not be shippable to different states. Now, I live in a state that's not on their no ship list, and there are even some bottles of wine, individual bottles that can't ship to my state for whatever reason. So that is a little bit of a drawback. And of course, after the intro offer, which is under $100, the pricing for each shipment moves more to the mid-tier. So it's $155 for each shipment going forward. Now, putting that into perspective, that's about $13 per bottle. So that's more than affordable, but that is just something to be aware of. Now, do I think Wine Insiders is worth it? For me, definitely. I am somebody who enjoys trying a variety of wines, largely of the red variety, but I think it's a great opportunity for people to try a wide variety of wines at grocery store prices and without a lot of the guesswork or the snobbery that comes with some of your more upscale wine clubs. Again, this is a lot more of an accessible wine club geared towards normal people who just like a good bottle of wine, but don't necessarily care about specific vintages or, things that are more on the level of a sommelier. So I think that if you want to join a wine club that's a lot less intimidating, a lot more accessible and enjoyable, Wine Insiders is definitely worth trying. When you're somebody that really does want to explore a lot more wine than you have without having to put a ton of thought into it, I think it's a great solution for that. And again, just getting to try a lot of different wines opens up your palate and helps you to discover more what you like and don't like. So over time, even when it comes to selecting individual bottles of wine for yourself, you have a better sense of what you might like or what you definitely would like. And given that the intro subscription is just $89 for 15 bottles of wine, plus you can cancel your wine club membership at any time, it's a really low risk wine club to get involved in, and you never know what you might discover.